or visit our website at allamericangold.com.
What's up, guys? Good morning. It's so great to be with you. I'm Bucky Dillon, host of the Bucky Dillon Morning Show, our morning show, a collaborative between myself and the free-thinking, freedom-loving Patriot community right here in Northern Colorado, tuning into the radio broadcast 1360khnc.com. Check out the website. You can listen worldwide, anytime, anywhere, on any of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Omni Video, Apple. I'm on all of them, as it turns out. You can also catch the live stream, facebook.com/Liberty Revolt Media, youtube.com/Liberty Revolt. I live stream almost every single episode, at least the second hour. Guys, I'd like to lead off with a little prayer. I invite you to join me, but you don't have to pray in exactly the same way that I pray. I'm not the judge. I don't judge anyone for how they pray. My grandma told me to pray to Jesus Christ, so that's what I do. But if you pray to somebody else, as long as you're doing it with love in your heart and a genuine interest in willing what's best for our country into the world, that's all that matters. So just real quick, I hope you join me. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for the beautiful weather. Thank you for another opportunity to try to go out and make a positive difference. Thank you for the blessings that keep coming into my life and into the life of those around me. I pray for our country. I pray for those who are suffering in the aftermath of some of the tragedies that have gone on here in Colorado and all around the world. I pray that you help put love and grace and hope into people's hearts, and to get people to begin to coordinate and cooperate together with each other, and to do your work. We know that you love us. We know that you are wanting to preserve our freedoms while also see us utilize our freedoms to do good and to do your work. So please be with us. Please give us guidance. Please give us wisdom, and let yourself be known to people so that they can better live out the wishes that you would have for them in their lives. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. Good morning. It's so great to be with you. I hope you guys are on your way to work, or I hope you guys are having a great day, and that we can keep things moving in the right direction. If you are a business owner, please call in 970-587-5171. Let us know what you do. Let us know what you're up to. It would be really great to just have a conversation with you, to introduce you to the community and let people know what you're up to and how they can get a hold of you, how they can help your efforts. We really appreciate people who go out there every day. Here's the thing. All of us have problems. We are all ruined with problems. We're all frustrated. We're all busy. We're all struggling. And one of the best things we can do is show up and put our hearts into our work and do a good job for people. Uh, do a good job trying to solve other people's problem. That's what it really means to be a patriot, is to invest in your community. And man, being good at your job, that is a foundational piece of making your society a better place. I titled today's episode "Counterproductive Incentives Poisoning Our Society." What do I mean by this? I mean, what are the incentives in place that drive our politicians, that drive the institutions that shape our culture, that drive even government agencies themselves, from the FDA to the Pentagon, right? All of these agencies and all of the people working in these agencies, actually they have their own agendas, and it's not exclusively their stated public agenda. They have personal agendas, right? Every single one of these people in the upper echelons of these institutions fall into the same susceptibilities as every other person, right? They're all ran by people, and there is no one among us that is an angel, right? Everyone has greed. Everyone has a tendency to fall into sin. So, that is the problem with a lot of these government programs, a lot of these government agencies, that make them inefficient, that make them susceptible to corruption, especially when they've monopolized something. So we're going to jump into that today. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who came out last Friday. Man, the food was delicious. Last Friday we had Todd Richards. He's kind of leading the movement towards making Weld County a part of Wyoming. Seems a little far-fetched. I have strong suspicions that this isn't going to get very far, but it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea for sure. The incentives of our media, our politicians, and our programs. What is going on? You're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show right here on 1360 KHNC. I'll see you guys after the break.
This is Sam Shook, Navy vet and Medicare specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks KHNC listeners.
Triangle Cross Ranch, a Christian-based family ranch community, has the availability for more ranchers to join the family. We accept adults over 18 years old with cognitive disabilities. If you have a friend or loved one who wants more independence in a Christian ranch home, contact Triangle Cross Ranch at 970-454-2219 or 36049 County Road 51, P.O. Box 727, Gailton, Colorado 80622.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animated contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel nor your arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains be set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were ever our countrymen. Samuel Adams.
When dealing with a worldwide pandemic, remember to avoid, distance, and alienate yourself from friends, family, and neighbors. That way, when the crisis is over, no one will ask you to help them move, to borrow money, or bother you for a cup of sugar ever again. After all, who needs community anyway? This has been a public service announcement. Have a lovely day.
morning, guys. Whew. God bless us. It's a good day. I feel good. So, I want to explain to you guys the problem with government borrowing and entitlement spending, and the problem with some of the incentives that push our societal trends, that push the institutions that help influence and forge our culture. In today's political climate, there's almost no easier way to succeed in our current electoral process than to engage in demagoguery, to engage in opposition tactics, to engage in grievance peddling, to trot out the notion that the government should and can effectively provide free services, right? And redistribute money for charitable purposes on behalf of the people. And it's easy to see how the idea of expanding and constructing new government agencies to address social and economic problems for the poor and disadvantaged can be very attractive. It grants believers in this notion a sense of virtue. It grants politicians a sense of moral duty. And once these politicians can implement and establish these programs, it grants them a sense of accomplishment, right? No politician wants to go into office and say, gosh, how can me and my buddies do less? How can we get less involved in the people's affairs? No. They always come into office saying, how can we get improved? How can we get more involved in things? Because gosh, we really want to help people, when quite often government is the problem. Right? These are the people stymieing our economic growth, stymieing our freedoms, right? And of course, we want to help those who are less fortunate. And I have no doubt that most politicians and most of the people involved in our media genuinely want to do good. But just as we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, we should never judge a government agenda by its intentions, right? We should never judge the narratives being trotted out by our media by their good intentions. We should look at Robert, you're being funny. We should look at what do they actually produce, right? We should judge a policy based on its results and our ability to actually accurately measure these results. As well as the unintended consequences. We should be looking out for these unintended consequences because they exist. And because it is within the very nature of politics and government programs to keep on expanding and to keep on getting more and more involved, we should always ask ourselves, what is the legitimate role of government in a free society? And do the policies being pushed by politicians or even by popular demand fall within that role? I would contend very often they don't, right? I would contend that as government grows, individual freedom shrinks. It has to, and vice versa. As individual freedom expands, the role of government has to shrink. I would like to begin with a simple initial premise, and this is the premise of self-ownership and personal responsibility. That is that I am my own property. I am not the property of the United States Congress, and that you are your own property, not the property of the United States government. And for better or worse, we are actually responsible for our own choices and the consequences of those choices. To violate either of these would be to violate the very notion of a free state. After all, you cannot be free if you are not your own property and if you are not responsible yourself. The implication in saying that, you shouldn't have to be personally responsible is that therefore somebody else must be responsible for you. And if somebody else is responsible for you, then you're not free. The premise of self-ownership and personal responsibility are the very foundations of the idea of morality. Why is rape immoral? Why is rape immoral? It's a violation of private property. Why is murder immoral? It violates private property. Slavery, theft, they all violate the premise of private property and self-ownership. Unfortunately, as a society, we have been incrementally abandoning or even outright reversing this moral principle when it extends to government policy and when it extends to the narratives being pushed by our media entities, our media pundits, and our social media influencers. I mean, we have gotten to the point where a massive portion of the American people have been convinced that not only is it okay, but it's actually a good thing. It's a moral act to use the gun of government to forcibly take the property of one American for the purpose of charity towards another American or even a foreign entity, right? And I say the gun of government because that's exactly what it is. The government solves problems in one of two ways. It either throws bullets at the problem or it throws somebody else's money at the problem. Money that it extracts from people with the threat of lethal violence. So even the money, all it does is throw bullets at people or threaten to throw bullets at people. It doesn't even throw money at people. When it does throw money at people, it's throwing money that it confiscated with the threat of gun violence, right? Even when the government prints money, it does so with debt associated, and that debt is paid off through taxation. So all of these taxes, all of these laws, all of these regulations is upheld by the threat of gun violence. If our laws weren't ultimately backed by the threat of lethal force, they wouldn't be laws. They would be suggestions. They would just be recommendations. Mao Zedong was correct when he boiled down his political philosophy into one phrase: political power grows from the barrel of a gun. So just remember that when you are having a conversation with somebody who's advocating for government mandates, advocating for more government regulations, even things that seem on the surface mundane, like diversity quotas. You don't get to claim the moral high ground while advocating for state-sponsored gun violence, no matter how moral your intentions are. In 1794, the Third Congress of the United States held debates on whether to allocate aid to French refugees in the aftermath of the Haitian Revolution. James Madison, who is considered the father of the Constitution and the fourth president of the United States, stood on the floor of the House of Representatives and said, quote, "I cannot undertake to lay my finger on that article of the Constitution which granted a right to Congress of expending on objects of benevolence the money of their constituents." And what he meant by that is that, not that charity is bad. Charity is a good thing, but that charity is not a legitimate role of government. Personal charity, to pull money out of your own pocket and give it to someone who's in need or to someone who's disadvantaged, that's a noble act. But to use the gun of government, to hold a gun to somebody else's head and take their money to redistribute it to the poor and disadvantaged, that's not a moral act. The government, he said, and this is a quote, "The government of the United States is a definite government confined to specified objects. It is not like the states' governments, which powers are more general. Charity is no part of the legislative duty of the government." And again, this is the father of the Constitution. It says in Amendment 5, Amendment 5 essentially specifies the rights of the accused. It says, quote, The government shall not seize private property for public use. If that exists, if that right exists for those accused of federal crimes, in my mind, it thus applies to the broader American people. I see no reason why legally earned money is not to be considered private property. If your money is not your private property, we might as well toss out our entire legal system. We might as well just throw it right in the garbage can because it doesn't mean anything. Amendment 10 of the Constitution says the powers not delegated to the United States government by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So this so far is to say that according to the very founders of our country, according to the man who literally wrote the Constitution, foreign aid, charity, welfare schemes, redistribution schemes as a matter of federal government policy are A, immoral, and B, unconstitutional. If a free society believes in a welfare cause, charities exist, right? And many of them are actually tax deductible. So if you really believed in charity, there's nothing from stopping you, right? You don't get to outsource your charitable giving to the government, which extracts people's money with the threat of gun violence, right? And that's essentially what you're doing. To give charity willingly out of your own pocket, that's noble. We commend that. We should not commend people who are saying that the government should forcibly take the private property of one American and allocate it to somebody else, especially when you look at the incentives. And the incentives are for the government to take a slice off the top, which they do. The government takes about 70 cents per dollar of welfare spending and hands it out to those allocating those funds. It's incredibly inefficient. But here we are, arguing whether or not you should be guaranteed rights that amount to government handouts in the form of government monopolized industries. I thought monopolies were bad. Haven't we all been having this conversation, particularly on the left? Haven't we been having this conversation that monopolies exploit the corner they have on various markets to extract the maximum possible profits out of people? I thought that was like the left's whole argument, that monopolies were bad. And somehow our solution to corrupt private monopolies is to create government-backed monopolies that are overwhelmingly lobbied by those same private monopolies that you had a problem with to begin with. There are no two industries in the United States that are more involved with government than healthcare and education. And yet these are the two industries you're constantly hearing people say, we need them all government. The government should guarantee this and the government should guarantee that. And never mind these federal agents with the high capacity assault weapons confiscating people's wealth. But that's what it is. I mean, and in no way does that incentivize healthcare industry or the educational industry to lower their price. How is making your neighbor pay for something incentivize them to lower the price? If anything, it incentivizes them to raise the price because nobody's accountable for actually paying for it, right? Except for you are, down the line. It's terrifying. You're listening to The Bucky Dillon Show. Hang around.
My name is Dwayne Brothwell. Listen to my show, Mystery Babylon, every Sunday, 11 a.m. I will show you how the birth certificate image of the beast binds you to Babylon the bank for the debt money we use to buy and sell with. That's every Sunday, 11 a.m.
This is Sam Shook, Navy Vet and Medicare Specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, Thanks, KHNC listeners.
Have you always wanted to be on the radio? Do you have strong opinions or ideas that you think should be heard? Why not host your own radio show right here on the Roar of the Rockies? You'll be on the same station as Brian Kilmeade, Michael Savage, and Alex Jones. You can brand yourself as an expert in your industry and grow your business. Imagine telling your potential clients you have your own radio show. That gives you instant credibility. For more information, call us at 970-587-5003.
Hi, folks. I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham and Associates, LLC. I know it must seem like there's a million realtors out there making all kinds of promises. Want to hear my big marketing promise? I promise honest and fair dealings with all those I do business with. That may sound old-fashioned, and it is not very catchy, but it is true. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Farm, land, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings. When you work with my team, we'll get the right property for you and be upfront and honest with you every step of the way. Over the years, my clients have told me just that fact alone separates us from others in the industry. If you are considering buying or selling real estate, call me, James Morgan, at 720-203-0731 or visit my website at coloradoproperties.online. No catchy slogan, just a client-first, honest real estate experience. Hit it, girls.
Keep listening to the American Freedom Network.
Reasons to own gold. Reason number 725.
The government goes out of its way to make you believe Social Security has an account with your name on it with money just for you. But the Supreme Court ruled that payments due under Social Security are not property rights and are not protected. Social Security is merely a tax, and the government is under no obligations to pay you anything. Call the Patriot Trading Group, 800-951-0592, or visit allamericangold.com.
Hi, folks. This is Terry V. Tune in every Saturday at 2 p.m. to my new show, Terry's Views of the News. The show is about current politics. It's a hard-hitting, truth-seeking, conservative view show. So tune in on Saturdays at 2 p.m. You'll be glad you did.
I have to have this nice soothing morning music because otherwise I would just be depressed and enraged about everything going on in our country. So entitlement spending, welfare spending, what's the problem with it? What's the problem with the incentives that are driving our culture that are making everything feel so toxic? Setting aside the constitutionality of federal entitlement and welfare spending, setting aside the implicit tyranny that is absolutely inherent in the notion of positive rights, that you have a right to the labor of somebody else, right? When they say you have a right to healthcare, what they mean is the government should provide it no matter what, right? I mean, they're essentially saying you have a right to the labor of someone else. Okay, there exists a serious problem when you combine three features of the American political system, right? Democracy, government welfare policies, and the ability of our politicians to spend money beyond their means by simply printing it, right? By our government's ability to borrow money, by selling treasury bonds. So we have all heard, or so I think we have all heard, some of the conversations about central banking, right? And how central bankers who can control and manipulate the money supply of a country can essentially dictate the path and future of that country, right? They essentially have complete control over the government entities, because if you control the money, it doesn't really matter what's written down on the paper. Government debt to private banking institutions and to foreign countries transforms the governed into hostages at the behest of the bankers and the foreign entrants, because it transforms the government into a hostage of private bankers and foreign institutions. The public ignorance and political incentives are what makes this scam so dangerous and effective. Everybody wants more welfare for themselves. Everybody wants easier access to money for themselves. And politicians can get tremendous traction promising these things, right? Like I said, there's almost no easier way in our political system to get elected than by promising people stuff, free stuff, right? And then politicians can deliver on these promises without the negative personal political ramifications of direct and preemptive taxation to pay for these public benefits by just simply getting a loan from a central bank. The government does this by selling treasury bonds, which are essentially IOUs to the central bank for the money that is printed out of nothing, that is created out of nothing and lent to the government at interest. But this increase in the money supply results in inflation, which equally devalues the actual value of the money itself and amounts to an indirect tax. That's what inflation is. Inflation increases the price of all products and devalues incomes and savings. And this disproportionately hurts the poor, by the way, because wealthy people, they can put their money into various markets, right? They can put their money into assets, right? They can put it into gold, they can put it in the stock market, they can put it into property, they can put their money overseas. They can protect their money from inflation, because if you have savings, you have capital, you can do that. You can put it into assets that protect your money from inflation. If you're living check to check, you have no protection from inflation. So unfortunately, because the vast majority of people don't actually understand how our money works, and their attention spans are so short, by the time inflation kicks in several months or even years down the road, the politicians responsible for the policies that created these government deficits are able to obfuscate personal responsibility and avoid the public scrutiny, right? And then you have a problem with, well, how effectively do these programs work? Money is like any other commodity out there in the economy. It follows the rules of supply and demand, right? So everything is going to accommodate for the higher accessibility of cash, right? Okay, let me reverse a little bit. Let me talk about why people are so bought into so many of these spending programs and these welfare policies. I want to touch on Robert's point, a couple points. He's got a good ones. That the $1,400 is not the gift that everybody thinks it is, right? So thanks for pointing it out. Hey, Robert, I really appreciate you joining in the conversation. The reception of these government handouts, the reception of welfare spending, the reception of public benefits, that it's always direct and recognizable, right? A $1,400 check shows up in the mail. You can't miss it. It says your name, and then it says your name, and then it has this dollar bill amount, and then you can slide it into your bank account, right? That's very direct. It's very recognizable. To use the $1,400 as a perspective, right? This bill, $1.9 trillion. What is that? What is 350 million divided, what 1.9 trillion divided by 350 million, which is roughly the population of the United States. Well, that comes out to about 5,500. That is roughly what this spending bill costs per American. I know when I make an investment, I love to spend 4 times the amount on the investment as what I get in return. That just seems like a great deal to me. Doesn't it seem like a great deal to you? It seems like a great deal. Who wouldn't want to spend 4 times the amount of money on their investment than what they're actually getting in return? I certainly would. The costs of these are so indirect and elusive. These policies are often incredibly popular because it's hard to recognize how inflation is costing you. It's easy to recognize when that check shows up in the mail, when those food stamps show up in the mail, when that unemployment benefits show up in the mail. Right? So mustering the political will to restrict or abolish these programs is synonymous with political suicide, right? Even when these programs are wholly inefficient, even when these programs are unsustainable. We talk about, reforming Social Security, and even Donald Trump wouldn't touch this because Social Security is popular. But here's the thing. If we don't reform Social Security, arithmetic will. You're listening to Bucky Dillon Show.
Did the insurance company divorce your mountain house? Then call Affordable Tree Service North at 970-568-6898. We have over 50 years combined experience in fire mitigation. Let us climb, cut, trim, haul your worries away. We know brokers who specialize in mountain property, and we don't hire no snowflakes. Oh, God, Mickey. Hey, you're not in this commercial. Again, call Affordable Tree Service at 970-568-6898. That's 568-6898.
Hi, Brian Kilmeade here. Thanks so much for listening to me every weekday from 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. right here on KHNC, the roar of the Rockies. Hey, do you own a business in northern Colorado or surrounding areas? Are you looking to reach a conservative, loyal audience which could grow your business? Well, take my advice and contact my friends at KHNC. KHNC has a rapidly growing conservative family-based audience, and you can speak directly to them. Now, if you're looking for the type of customers or clients that believe in the principles that our great country was founded upon, just contact my friends at KHNC, the roar of the Rockies, and learn how you can be heard right on the air. Just call 970-587-5003 or email on the air at 1360khnc.com. That's 970-587-5003 or email on the air at 1360khnc.com. Take it from me, Brian Kilmeade. You can showcase your business to the folks that are helping to take our country back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Place with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children can die from heat stroke after being mistakenly left in a car. This sometimes happens when there's a change in routine. Make it a habit to put your phone or bag in the back seat next to your baby. Ask your caregiver to always call if your child doesn't arrive as expected, and lock your car when it's parked. If you see a child alone in a car, call 911. For more on child safety, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org.
I had like punk and metal music as my intro music, and I kept getting complaints about it. So I put in this new music that I thought was more morning suitable, and now I have someone in the comment section bashing it as boring and putting them to sleep. You can't win, guys, no matter what you do. But as I was saying, all of these spending programs, all of these welfare benefits, all of these redistribution schemes, not only are they unconstitutional, not only are they immoral because you're utilizing the gun of government to confiscate the private property of one American and redistribute it somebody else. They always cost more than the value of the benefit themselves. They have to, because these government politicians, they pay themselves off the top. They pay off their buddies with a slice off the top, right? They give handouts. In the $1.9 trillion spending package, they gave a bunch of bailouts to blue states that had been spending well beyond their budgets for decades, and then locked everybody's economies down. And what's so funny is they lock all of the small businesses down. And then wealth inequality skyrockets because, of course, they don't shut down Amazon. Of course, they don't shut down Netflix. Of course, they don't shut down Walmart. Of course, they don't shut down all of the big businesses, right? They just shut down the little businesses, right? They shut down the mom and pop stores. They shut down people who are working for themselves. And then they have the gall to come out there and say, look at how wealth inequality has gotten out of control as a result of the pandemic. Not us. We didn't do this. The pandemic did it, right? Look how wealth inequality has gotten just totally out of control. We need to implement a wealth tax. We need government wealth confiscation policies for you because we care about you. My goodness. They always have to pay themselves off the top. They always weaponize these regulations to pay off their buddies or to give handouts to their buddies, right? And as we said, when they're not preemptively and directly taxing the people, they're just printing money that is borrowed with interest on the debt. There's statistics floating around that 70 cents on the dollar of welfare spending goes to those who allocate the welfare spending, not the poor that they are supposed to be benefiting themselves. Right? And like I said, this money that is artificially introduced into the economy through inflation or via welfare distributions, it has ripple effects in the economy, right? It affects other changes in the economy more broadly, irrespectively to any actual increase in productivity. That means that wages, housing costs, and other aspects of the economy begin to rise in prices, begin to become more expensive to accommodate the wide utilization of these public benefits and the inflation. So the public dependency on these benefits diminishes, and the effectiveness diminishes as the economies where these policies are widely implemented naturally try to achieve economic equilibrium with the money supply without any actual expansion of economic productivity. So that is to say, you've artificially increased the money supply without increasing any actual productivity. You've made wages, you've diminished wages, right? You've made the money not go as far without increasing anything. So it just equals out, right? The economies where these policies are implemented just accommodate to the existence of these welfare benefits and this artificial increase in society. And so this creates this, what I call a negative positive feedback loop between unsustainable government spending, deficits, particularly on welfare programs, and combined with central banking schemes. And these are the primary driving forces on the slippery slope to a plutocratic society where people are dependent on a government that is in turn beholden to the money powers that finance them. So we have a problem of incentives, right? One notable problem is the financial incentives of our media, our politicians, particularly of groups that are lagging, and even the government programs themselves. There are tremendous opportunities for profits and social clout that incentivizes this kind of grievance peddling and the implementation of these anti-poverty programs, so-called, but very little money to be made by actually solving the problems that they propose to solve, the problems that they condemn, in order to maintain relevance. They must exaggerate the problem. They must never acknowledge that they themselves might not be a viable solution to the problem, and they should never actually solve the problem. To ever admit that something is actually hardly a problem, or that politicians or government programs aren't an effective way to solve the problem, or to admit that the problem has ever been solved, would effectively put them out of business. Right? The Civil Rights Act has gone beyond establishing equal rights under the law and has now moved into the territory of a grievance poverty industry, right? I call it the welfare industrial complex. The media are not in the business of solving problems or even giving their audience a representative perspective of the world. They're in the business of selling advertisements. And in order to sell advertisements, they have to get your attention with shock and horror, right? They portray not what is normal and predictable in society, not what's going well. They portray the exact opposite. They want their constituents, they want their audience to be misguided, distrustful, desperate, and aggravated
Do you
into
ever
action.
wake up and feel like there should be someone to run your errands? We want to get things done, but just don't have enough time. Many of us hire concierge services like dog walkers or food and grocery delivery. Why should your insurance needs be any different? At Badger Insurance Advisors, we act as your concierge for all things insurance, pairing quotes and prices, and recommending the best insurance for your needs. Call or text us today at 303-359-1799. Or check us out at badgerinsuranceadvisors.com.
I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and I would like to encourage everyone to make sure they are prepared financially as the Federal Reserve continues to destroy the value of the dollar. Since the closing of the gold window in 1971, the Federal Reserve has led the way in the explosion of debt and the devaluing of your money. They openly say that they need 2% inflation, which simply means they hope to devalue your money, and they want to do this every single year, year after year. I know it's hard to understand, but the Federal Reserve believes in prosperity through debt and growth via the devaluation of your future. To learn more about how to protect yourself, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592 and protect yourself against the devaluing of your money.
It is not because men have made laws that life, liberty, and property exist. On the contrary, it is because life, liberty, and property existed beforehand that men made laws in the first place. What then is law? It is the collective organization of the individual right to lawful defense and punishing injustice. Frederick Bastiat, The Law.
Our hyper partisan media does not prosper off of predictable, or excuse me, they do not prosper off of pragmatic depictions of the truth or even the success of their audience. They prosper by isolating their audience into addicted, desperate, revved up mobs that they can that are loyal, that are predictable, and that they can aggravate into action. And as more people succumb to this strategy, the media powers seem to only get bigger as everything they touch gets worse. Outrage drives media traffic, and these entities can cash in big. Right? Everything our media covers. They don't cover the normal. They don't cover what's going on every day, what's predictable. They don't cover our sustainable our slow and sustainable improvements that we've been making over time. Stephen Peaker wrote a book on this, on how far we've come, right? Things are actually getting better. But you don't hear about that. The media will only cover the shock, right? The horror. And then it gives these politicians who are mining history for disparities in discrimination, in search of grievances that they can cash in on today, often at the expense of people who never committed any of these historical injustices, and to the benefit of those who never suffered from these historical injustices, right? But it gives them political clout. It gives them media clout. The media love to cover this kind of stuff, right? Why is AOC so popular? Because everyone knows who she is, because the media is talking about her all the time. Even conservative media, right? They have an interest in being on the losing side. That's when their audience is most susceptible to them being able to aggravate into action, right? For the party that talks so much about personal responsibility, conservatives have just let the left take over everything in our country. All the commanding heights of cultural and political news media. The incentives are all backwards. The incentives are for politicians to peddle out grievances, to peddle out welfare programs, to pay themselves off the top of it, right? The incentives of the media are to exacerbate all of this. That's why we're in trouble. Until we are able to have honest conversations about these things, we'll never make it out of this. Guys, the Bucky Dillon Show is made possible by my sponsor, Jerry Axum at Sears Real Estate. If you're looking for real estate, if you're looking for property to buy or sell in the northern Colorado area, consider contacting my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. That's Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. That's his email. He's been in northern Colorado for 60 years. He's been in real estate since 2005. He knows what he's looking for, and he knows how to help you get into the best possible home at the best possible price. If you are interested in protecting your money from inflation, consider investing in property. Contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. Guys, if you would like to contact me, my email, libertyrevoltmedia@gmail.com. I have a genuine gratitude for being able to share these mornings with you and talk about these issues. I hope you contact me, libertyrevoltmedia@gmail.com. Let's have a conversation. Thanks for hanging out, guys. See you tomorrow.
1360khnc.com has CBD products. Click on the shop button and get yours today.
Just go to 1360khnc.com/shop. The CBD on our website is 99% pure, all natural, no pesticides, non-GMO, is grown organically right here in Colorado, and is 100% THC free. Oh, and did you know ours is the lowest price CBD anywhere in northern Colorado? For all your CBD needs, just log on to 1360khnc.com/shop.
This is Sam Shook, Navy Vet and Medicare Specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks KHNC listeners.